Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to week 12. Wow, the semester is really flying, isn't it? So, this week we're going to create a digital, and I put it in quotes, painting, unquote, because again, we're using digital tools to make something colorful and and detailed. So, this week we're going to do a digital painting. So, I thought maybe it would be fun to kind of go back to what we did in the beginning of the semester, and that is use a photo and base it on that. Although you don't have to do it this way, you can just create it solely out of your imagination too. For me, I like to study detail, and so what I'm going to do is use a photo here and kind of base my portrait on the photo. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into GIMP and we'll get started. Okay, so here I am in GIMP, and first thing we want to do is set up a new file. So File New or Control N. And our dimensions for this file are 720 by 540, 300 ppi. So again, I can go to advanced options. That's already set up. We're good to go. Click OK. And there's my canvas. First thing I want to do is get the photograph in that I want to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this screen a little bit smaller here. And I'm just going to grab this photo and drop it in here. And this photo is going to be a lot larger than my canvas, obviously. So let's take a look at that. Um, so let's go back and maximize that. Now that looks cool. I like it close up like that because you can really see the detail, especially in the eyes there. That's really interesting. But what I want to do is zoom out just a little bit on that and get a little more detail. So hold down Control to make it opposite, minus zoom out. Okay, and then we're going to use the scale tool. Just click once in the canvas here. And we're going to scale this thing down to 720 by 540. Go ahead and hit scale, and sometimes that'll do the trick. So look at that, just perfect. I'm going to create, just for fun, I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to take the duplication and I'm going to make it grayscale. Well, not truly grayscale, but I'm going to take the color out of it. How about that? We're still in RGB mode. So let me rename this. Duplicate of original. Okay, and this will be the original here. And just because I want to have something that has a lot of high contrast, so again, I'm going to take the image. And I'll tell you, another thing too, why I'm doing this is because I don't want you to just make a color portrait with the same colors. I want you to kind of go off on your own a little bit and make something unique from maybe an original image. Okay? So hue saturation here, let's pull the saturation out. And again, we can make this darker or lighter. That looks pretty good right there. And you can see there's a high contrast here. So I'm going to just leave the original alone, and I'm going to use the duplicate as my base to start on. And then I'll use my own colors that way. Does that make sense? Okay, so so that's basically how I've got my file set up. Now we're ready to start adding some color and creating this portrait. Okay, so I have my original, and then I have my grayscale version of the original. And then, so to create my painting, I'm going to start with some layers above these. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. Hold down Shift, click this. And I think I think it might be easier because I created a border for myself with the head covering here. And so that's kind of where I'm going at this point, I think, is to create a color for this covering. And, it could be any color, really. Let's go ahead and try maybe a darker blue would be interesting. Let's try that. So, okay. Now here's how I'm going to do this. Just to make it a little easier, is to just fill it in with the color. And then what I can do, which is kind of interesting, is I can bring the opacity down, and then I can kind of cut out what I want to keep here. And I'll do that by creating a path here. Or I could actually try using the free select tool. Let's see how that works. Your job is to base your painting on a photo, but it doesn't have to. In fact, I don't want it to be an exact duplicate. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm just kind of adapting it here. Doing my best to kind of get it close to what it was. Remember, you don't want to join these until you're done. Look, just like I messed up there. Again, on this part, if you're going to be doing any kind of creating selection areas and deleting, then just take your time. Again, it's part of the process. I'm going to do a combination of this kind of work as well as using the paint brushes, of course. But again, if you can get away with using some of these tools to speed up your workflow, then why not, right? Okay, so you keep going here. Again, it's pretty smooth on this end. Okay, and then you get to the last one there. And notice there I've got a selection area on my top layer there. So now all I have to do is hit delete. And if you look at this, you can see there, basically I've got my base layer there too. And let's do Shift Control A to deselect it. And what we can do is create another layer here. So Shift. And let's move this layer on top. And then underneath on this layer, we'll create like a skin tone, a basic skin tone. So I can turn these off for a second. In fact, let's bring this opacity up on this one again. And I can look at her skin tone. In fact, I could even go ahead and grab my color picker tool and select that color as a base tone for our skin. Okay, so I did that. And now I can, on this layer, just fill that in with my paint can. And notice there, that's underneath this layer, so these two are now together. I don't think I really need to do anything else with these two layers right now, so I think I can combine these two. So if I go up to layer, I could do new from visible, and that just creates one layer there. So I can take these now and I can delete these. I don't need them. Okay, and it's all about keeping things simple in my layers window if I can. So I have some basic tones to work with here. I have a blue for the head wrap, and then I have the skin tone, the base skin tone that I'm starting with. And the challenge is going to be, how do I get some of this really great detail, like these threads, for example? You can see some of the thread work on this. You can see the thread work where other material was added to it. You can see a polka dotted pattern. So there's a lot I can do with certain types of brushes. There's the texture of the eyebrows, the texture of the lashes, color in the eyes. So that's where my painting is going to come into play. Is the devil is in the details, and that's what I'm going to be working on throughout this project. Okay, so I have some base colors here to work with. I think the next thing I would do is I'm going to have to draw in the eyes, the nose, the eyebrows. So I'm going to draw some guiding lines that I'm going to use. And those aren't going to be anything I'm going to keep, but I'm going to just draw them on their own layer. So I'm going to create a new layer and just call it face guidelines or something like that. And again, I'm going to get rid of those later. So this is just something I can use to help me do the facial features. So I'm going to bring down the opacity. It's wrong layer. Bring down the opacity on the visible layer here. And I'm just going to draw my guidelines on this. Make sure you're on the right layer when you do this. And again, I'm going to use the brush, and maybe just some black would be fine. That's a pretty thick line. Notice the brush that I'm using. It's one of my brushes. That's cool. I like that. So I'm going to go up to the brush window here, and I'm just going to grab a pretty simple here brush with full hardness. And again, bring down the size here. I don't need it that large, of course. Maybe a 1 pixel wide would probably be enough. And then again, I'm just going to use it to, again, just draw kind of the guidelines for the basic shape of the eyes. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Again, pull your finger off the mouse once in a while, maybe. And again, I'm not keeping these, so just so you're aware. These are just going to be some basic guidelines to get me started. That looks pretty good there for that eye. And then over here, of course, again, double check your layers, make sure you're on the right layer, which I am. And we're just going to draw some guidelines for our basic eyes. Kind of like drawing, you know, where you start off with your basic areas and shapes that you want to use. Let me erase that. So without having to redo the whole thing, I'll just grab my eraser and I can just go ahead and erase, you know, a little area there and try to do better. So again, let me grab my paintbrush, keep going here. Oops. Again, we're going to go down to 1 on our size here. Okay. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, that looks good. And then, of course, we want to probably do some for the eyebrows here, too. And again, I'll just kind of do it right along the base here, just so I know where the eyebrows end. And then just go up around, kind of get the basic shape of them. It's not going to be exactly like that when they're done, of course. But it's a good way to get started with it. And so I'll just do guidelines on this layer of everything in the face and where I want it. And again, the beauty of working digitally on a painting is that you have layers that you can contend with and delete when you're done with them. So it's a great way to work on art. I think it's fun. I don't know. Some people like it. Some people prefer the brushes. But digital is definitely my palette, I think. And then maybe the other guideline would be up here where the lashes start and the eyelids are going to be, something like that. And we'll just go down right here to about there. And then maybe draw a line here where the nose is going to go. And again, these are just guiding lines. They're not going to be anything I'm going to keep. But take your time, you know, it's not a foot race. You're better off just kind of taking your time. And that looks pretty good. Let's see what we have so far with that. Let's bring this one up. So you can see there I've got some basic lines there to work with, and then the challenge will be to fill in the details. Okay, so I just have this hard brush here, and I could draw the eyebrows that way, but that's going to be long and laborious. So I think an easier way would be to grab something like this brush up here, again, where you can just kind of click and. But let's shape it a little bit. Let's go up to the tool settings here. Let's bring the size down. That's obviously too small, right? Let's make sure we're on the right layer. We are. Okay, let's go back to tool settings. Let's bring up the size. That's getting there. That looks pretty good length. Um, and let's bring up the aspect ratio there. See how it kind of thins it out. That's pretty good right there. Maybe even a little thinner. So I'm going to bring this all the way and see what. There, that's probably good right there. And let's change the angle here just a little bit as well. I'm going the wrong way there. That's pretty good right there. I like that angle. Maybe over just a hair. And let's try that. So again, just you just kind of randomly click in there and see if you can get some eyebrows, generating there. Again, bring up the size a little bit to kind of randomize it. Sort of about there, maybe. Okay, so we're getting a start there, and then let's change the angle and do the other side while we're at it. We'll just kind of do them both at the same time. That looks pretty good. Maybe over just a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, we're just trying to get a jump start on this here. Just kind of spread them out evenly. Okay, just get a nice jump start on them there. And again, most of them are going the same direction there. Okay, so we're getting a jump start on that. And then you can also see here, you can also check your work here by just turning off the guidelines. And that's looking pretty sharp right there. And then again, if you want to take a look at the brows underneath, you can turn these off for a second. Bring down the opacity on there. And you can see they're pretty close together and they're sort of all traveling in a little bit different directions on the ends there, but most of them are kind of going the same direction there. So we're on to something there, I think. And again, you can go back to your tool settings here, change the angle a little bit, and maybe even the size here. Let's go down a little bit with the size. Just kind of thicken them in areas. There's a lot of hair really going on there, more than you realize, I guess, or that I realize, not you. Okay, and then the same thing over here. Let's change the angle. Okay, a little bit more. And let's do a tiny bit over. There we go. That's kind of the same, huh? So let's bring it back a little bit. And then let's do a little more. That's too much there, so you kind of make it subtle here. There we go. Just change it up a little bit. Just kind of thicken the eyebrows. Okay, you get some nice textures going there. And let's do the size down a little bit. Just kind of go up here in the center. A little too much there, right? So, okay, it's looking pretty good. Let's do the angle over here now. All right, and let's do a size change here. And let's throw a couple of, well, let's work on this angle a little bit here. Okay, do the same thing over here. Had a couple of random hairs going in a different direction there. A little more even. There we go. A little more. There we go. Throw a couple there. There's a lot going on there with the eyebrows, more than I sometimes realize here. Okay. Couple going that way. Okay, so you got a lot to think about here, a lot to do. Let's do this. Just kind of thicken them up, randomize them a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at our work here. Okay, so we've got some nice eyebrows going there to start, and then maybe we'll move into the eyes here in the next part of the video. Okay, so the next thing I might do is fill in the eyeballs or the eyes here. So we'll just get a white color here in the foreground. And I just go on the face guidelines here layer first, and then, well, let's just go ahead and use the fuzzy select tool. I want to call it the magic wand. That's Photoshop. Okay, so here I can select inside the borders here of the eye. And let's just go ahead and make a new layer while we're at it. We'll call this eyes. Okay, and then let's go ahead and bring that up here in the top. And let's grab our paint bucket here and we can just fill that in. Shift Control A. Next thing, go to the other one. Let's grab our fuzzy select here and click here. And notice there I'm on the wrong layer, so you want to go back to your guidelines, click here. And notice here when I click this eye, it's selecting everything. So that tells me something that maybe this isn't fully enclosed here. So Shift Control A, when that happens, you want to zoom in and see where the break is in the line here. So if you look at this, looks like it's right down here. So all I really would need to do is grab probably this part of this line right here. So I'm just going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to select this region, and I'm just going to duplicate that by holding down Shift and Alt, and then just dragging it down. Okay, and that should join them now. So Shift Control A, Shift Control A to deselect, and there it should be connected. So now let's go ahead and use the fuzzy select and see if we can just click the eye. And it looks like we're just getting the eye there now. So I just kind of sealed off that enclosed area, the one area that I missed. So there you can see it's only selecting the eye. So now I'll grab my paint bucket, fill that in. And notice here I'm on the wrong layer, face guidelines. So hit Control Z twice, go up to eyes, and fill it in on the correct layer there. And my computer's a little slow, but you can see there that it worked. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the face guidelines here and the eyes and just simplify this. I'm going to join these into one layer here just to simplify everything. So you just click on one of the layers that's visible and you just choose, go up to layer, choose new from visible. And what that does is it creates a new layer, so I can delete some layers to simplify if I want to. I got rid of the eyelashes and just left them all on this one layer here. Okay. Oh, there's another one down here too. So I can take this one, it's pretty much the same as the other one, and delete that one as well. Okay, so now I have the face guidelines still, so I don't lose those. I'll need those. And I still have the eyeballs there too. Okay, so you can simplify your layers just by merging some of them together. These three are fine but together. I don't need to have those on individual layers right now. And so our eyes are here too. I'm going to keep the eyes on here. And let's go ahead and work on the eyes. If you look at the original here, you can see she has beautiful blue eyes. I'm going to actually make them green here. So let's go ahead and work on the eyes here. And let's go ahead and let's add a new layer, as a matter of fact. So shift click, add a new layer. We'll call this one left eyeball. Okay. And let's go ahead and grab our magnifying glass and zoom in here. And let's go ahead and grab our ellipse select tool here. Let's make a circle for her first eyeball here. That looks pretty good. Okay, we can use that to start. That'll be the left eyeball. And let's get a nice green color here. Ooh, that's pretty. Maybe a little bit lighter. That looks good right there. Let's grab our paint can. We'll fill that in. And let's just... Actually, watch this. See, I still have the selection here. If I want, I can expand that selection. If I go up to select here and grow, select grow, I can grow that selection by a few pixels. I'm going to choose 3 pixels. And notice there how it expanded. And then now I can fill in the rest of that to make it larger if I need to. Okay, so Shift Control A, and now I can use my move tool and move this pupil around. That looks just about perfect right there. So I'm going to just duplicate that layer, click on the duplication under the layers window, and make this the right eyeball. Okay, so RT, and that's, I call it right because it's to my right, even though it's the girl's left eyeball, but when I'm looking at it, it's my right. So that's my logic there. So zoom out here, and then now I'm going to grab my move tool and just move that one over here. And that one looks pretty sized pretty well too. Okay, so I have my eyeballs there. And let's go ahead and go to another layer here. I guess we'll stay with the left eyeball, for example. Now again, if you look at the eyes here on her, you can see there's a dark ring around each edge. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to darken that ring around the eyeballs there. Just turn everything back on while we're at it. I don't need the guidelines right now, but let's go ahead and do that. So on left eyeball, let's grab the fuzzy select tool, select that color. There we go. And then again, with that selection, let's zoom in on it. With that selection, we can shrink it. If we go up to select, choose shrink this time, and let's shrink it by, let's shrink it by 4 pixels and see what happens. That's pretty good. A little big though. Let's go ahead and Control Z. Let's do the same thing again. So select. We're going to shrink that by 3 pixels. That'd probably be good. That's good. 3 pixels there. So we got our selection. Now remember, we want to darken the edges on the outside of the pupil. So we're also going to choose select invert so we get the outside of the selection. Okay. So select invert. Then this time we're going to go into this menu where it says smudge tool. We're going to hold that down. We're going to grab the dodge and burn tool. Okay. So the dodge and burn tool is selected, and you can click on your toolbar settings. If you scroll down, you can choose between dodge and burn. Dodge will make things lighter, burn will make things darker. So we're going to choose, the type is going to be burn, and then we're going to grab just a regular old smooth brush. Just a regular old brush. Okay? We want to bring that down. We want to try not to go outside of the borders of our circle selection here. And just kind of go around these pupils and burn in a darker tone, right? And you can also adjust the settings of the tool as well, hardness and force. Bring those up to 100% if you're not getting enough burn in your strokes here. So you can see I'm darkening the edge of the eyeball. Just take your time and try not to go outside of the outside edge of the circle. You're not going to mess up going on the inside of the circle because you can't go past the selection area. Okay, then just take your time and darken around the edges. The whole idea is to just darken the edges of the eyes to give it some depth. And once again, I urge you to just take your time. That looks pretty good. There's no hurry. Just a nice, even darkening here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's take that now. Shift Control A, and you can see how I've darkened those just using the burn tool. And we could do the same thing on the other side too. So let's go to our layers, choose the right eyeball. Again, same thing. We're going to select with the fuzzy select tool. We're going to shrink our selection. Go to select, shrink by 3 pixels. Click OK. And also don't forget to select invert so you're getting just the outside of the selection. Okay. And then again, we'll grab our burn tool. Go to your tool settings and just make sure you're on burn rather than dodge. We are. And just go ahead and start burning in the darkness. Again, take your time. No hurry there. Just kind of go around the edges. Maybe take your finger off the mouse once in a while, so you don't lose all that work you did previous. Okay. About 3 times around the edge, and then I'm happy. So the dodge and burn can get you varying tones of the same color. You know, you can make them darker hues with the burn tool. Or you can also make lighter hues with the dodge tool as well. Okay, let's do one more quick one. Okay, Shift Control A. So let's take a look here as we zoom out. You can see there we've got some darkening of the edges of the eyes. That's good. We could also maybe do some pupils as well, but let's actually wait on the pupils. Let's see if we can do a pattern inside the eyes here. Now, again, if you look at the original, there's kind of some kind of a pattern going on there. And instead of trying to do every single detail, I'm just going to try to use a brush or two to capture some of that inside those eyes there. And let's go ahead and turn off the guides again there. We'll zoom in. And just see if we can locate a brush that can help us with that. Okay, so I'm going to go to my brushes here. And here's a neat pattern that might work. Let's grab this one. So let's grab our brush. Let's grab that. And look at that. That's kind of cool. If I bring this down, maybe we can make some of that pattern go. And let's change the color here to more of like a gold. Maybe something a little lighter than that. Ooh, that was looking good right there. It's a nice rich color. And let's see if we're on the right layer here. We are not on the right layer. 1, 2. Let's go to our left eyeball. And you can see there I've created some kind of a pattern, but let's make that smaller. I think what we'll do would work better if we made it smaller and moved it around. Maybe not. Let's play with our tool settings too. So maybe let's bring the force down and see what happens there. Okay, that's not giving us what we need. Let's bring the hardness down maybe. Okay, still not looking for what I'm looking for. Could try aspect ratio. No, spacing might help. No, it's not going to help either. Let's shoot for a different brush there. Maybe that one's just not the one I'm looking for. That's kind of interesting too, but again, I'm afraid when I reduce the size, it's going to be a little too close together, but let's try it. That's not bad. Okay, so you can add patterns with some of the brushes. Um, let's see what else we have to choose from. What's that one look like? That's kind of interesting too. So there are some good brushes here that you can work with to get some patterns going. I still like this one. If I could get that one to work, I think that would be the one. Um, so again, or maybe this one might be even better, right? So something like that. So let's see, let's bring this one down. What would happen? That's not bad right there. We might be able to reduce the, let's try reducing the force. I like that. So let's keep the hardness at 100%. We'll reduce the force a little bit here and make it a little bit bigger. And you can see there, look, created some nice colors right there already. Okay, so that's kind of cool right there, like that. Then we can go over to the other eye, do the same thing. So let's go over here. Let's do the right eyeball. Again, grab our brush. Give that 2 there. Let's try one more there. There we go. And then let's go ahead and bring up the force a little bit here and just see how that affects things as well. That gives you a little more detail, right? So one here. Let's bring it up even more. What the heck? And we'll make it a little smaller too. Why not? Okay, that's nice. Maybe a little smaller than that. Okay, that's pretty. And then same thing. We'll go to the next eye here. Do the same thing. So there you got some nice color variation in the eyes there. And let's go ahead and give her some pupils as well. And let's see. Okay, so they're not huge, but we need some pupils in there. So right eyeball, let's do that right now. We'll grab black as our foreground and do a few pupils in here. Maybe about there. That in. Let's grab our paint can, fill that in. Looks nice there. Okay, same thing. We can grab our selection here, go to left eyeball, and let's see if we can. We're just going to have to make a new one over here, I guess. Maybe about there. And grab our paint bucket here. Fill that in. Okay, so Shift Control A. So we're getting some depth to the eyes there. And now maybe what we can do is let's go back onto right eyeball, for example. And let's just go ahead and burn in a little ring around the pupil as well. So let's zoom in. And we'll grab our burn tool here, which I've done. And let's again go back and grab just our regular old brush there. There we go. Go to our tool settings and bring down the size here to about 3 pixels like we did before. And what we're going to do is just go around the edge of this eyeball and try to darken things a little bit. Let's go here and just kind of wrap around this. And you can see it's starting to darken around the pupil. I think that'll give it some nice little detail and depth as well. Okay. Oops, I messed up a little bit there. Let's try it again. This time we can just go around the edges. Again, just take your time. Just create a little depth to the eyes. Okay, that looks pretty good. And do the same thing with the other. It's subtle, but it gives you a little bit of a variation there. Oops. Let's go to left eyeball here. Again, just take your time. Yeah, it just adds a little color variation in there. And again, we're just using the, I think we're using the burn. We might be using the dot. No, we're using the burn. You can see there it creates a little ring there. Kind of gives some depth to the eyes there. Okay, so let's zoom out here and take a look. Okay, so we've got some nice eyes going there. If we turn off the face guidelines, you can kind of see how things are working there. And that looks pretty good so far. Okay, and then the last thing I might do with the eyes is grab a darker green color, maybe. And I got this brush here. And again, probably want to play with bringing the force down. So it's already down there. Let's see what that looks like. Click in there a few times and notice there it's providing some nice dark edges into the eyes there. Let's do the same thing with the other side here. Let's go to the left eyeball and just kind of fill that in with some darker tones. And there you can see you create some depth and color to the eyes, which is nice. Over here, let's go over to the right here and do that again. Something like that. Same thing with the left. There you create some nice color variation in the eyes there. And you create some of those patterns that you see in the eyeball as well. Okay, one last thing I'll do to the eyeball before I move on to something else for a while is add a little gleam in there. Again, give it that specularity as the light's hitting the eyeball. So I'm just going to select a little area here and fill that in with white. So you can see there you get a little specularity. Shift Control A. And then we'll do the same thing on the right side here. Just grab a little area here on this side. Maybe there, and grab our, that might be a little large there. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit. Let's make it a little smaller. So let's go ahead and select that again. Make it a little smaller this time. Yeah, that's probably good right there. And grab a paint can, fill that in. And again, when you zoom out here, you can see now we've got a little light hitting the eyeballs there too to give them some depth. Okay, so now that we have the eyes pretty much done, I'm going to do some shading here. And basically, I have some guidelines there, and you can see there underneath there, you can see there's some different shade there. It's a little darker. So I'm going to try doing just using the burn tool here. And before I do that, I'm going to bump it up a little bit. Probably about there. It's probably good. Maybe a little more. And let's go ahead and adjust the force here. Let's bring the force down to about, maybe about half. And then just kind of slowly go along there. Let's see if I'm on the right layer. Yes, I am. So just kind of slowly, burn in a little bit of dark here. Okay. Maybe a little more up here. Just kind of burn in a little bit. And turn off the face guides too. And you can look at that every once in a while. And it's a little shaky without the, I think the space is off. If you look there, looks like I got the space off. So I'm going to Control Z that. And let's go ahead and move the spacing back. Yeah, the spacing was off there. So let's go ahead and start again here. Spacing's down to 1 now. So that should be a lot better. A little more even there. Okay, and then of course we can bring the force down a little bit more, make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's bump it up just a little bit. Kind of darken it along the edge here a little more. Okay, take a look here. Okay, it's a little extreme there, isn't it? So let's go ahead and bring that back. And let's go ahead and bring the force down some more. Bump this up a little bit more too while we're at it. There we go. Let's kind of make it a little darker in there. And let's put that back in the dock here. Hey, hey.
You go.
Who's this?
On, he's done.
Oh, yeah, Damien. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, thanks. Oh my god. 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 Okay, let's turn off the guidelines here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's take a look at some of the other details here. Maybe around the eyes a bit too we could do. So let's go ahead and grab the burn tool. And again, I'm just trying to darken some areas around the edges here. Let's see here. Yeah, got the force down pretty far, so that's looking pretty good. There we go. So if you turn the force down, you can kind of ease into it and edge it out a little bit. Take your time. Just provide some nice shading that way. Okay. All right, let's go over here, do the same thing around this eye a little bit. Again, I'm not doing it exactly to the picture. I'm just going to kind of add some shade, suggest some depth here. Okay, give a little shade there. Just like I said, take your time. There's no hurry. Just really have the force down on this. But it'll take away some of the flatness of the skin tone. Okay, so turn off the face guidelines. You can kind of see some shading going on there. And we can fill some of this in too. That would probably help. Get a little lighter out here. Okay. Looking pretty good there. Okay, I'll leave those off here for a sec. Kind of fill that in. We can also smudge it too. So if I grab my smudge tool right here, what that does is just kind of smudges the layers and kind of blends them together a little bit. Let's go up with the tool options here. Again, bring up the force a little bit more. Kind of smudge those together. Okay, and again, let's look at the face here and do some more shading here. Let's go back to our layers. And it's looking pretty good so far. maybe a little more down here. So let's grab our dodge and burn tool, kind of keep going down here a little bit. Just give it that little bit of a depth. Make that a little smaller. Fill that in up there a little bit. Okay. Maybe some more of these areas over here a little bit. Get some depth going there. Maybe a little bit over here, out here. Just a little bit here and there. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Definitely some out here. Okay. Okay, get some depth going there. Other areas, maybe some up over here. Okay. Okay, we're looking pretty good so far. Maybe a little over here. Again, the goal is just to provide a little bit of depth, a little bit of shading. Okay. Now let's try maybe a little less there. Let's take a look at that again. Just a little right here. Okay, something like that. All right, let's back it off here and take a look at it. Okay, so you can provide some shade in there, again, using the dodge and burn tools. They're a good, valuable resource for doing some of that. And again, the smudge tool also could be a good tool to use, or the blur tool also. Let's bump that up a little bit. And again, just kind of smudge things together. Let's try the blur tool also. Kind of blur things together a little bit. Again, go to your tool options. You can bring up the force a little bit. Might help you in your smooth things out a little bit. See here, that's kind of smoothing out to more of a gradient. Oops. Went a little too far down here, you can see. But what I can do is I can go ahead and grab, well, I can also undo it too. Just Control Z until my last step. Well, let's see here. There we go, smudgy. And then here, down here, I can just probably grab that section of it here. Let's go to the rectangular. Just grab that section, hold down Shift and Alt. Drag that over a little bit. Control Z, again, grab this again, Shift and Alt. There we go. And then Shift Control A, or better yet, grab another tool, Shift Control A. And let's see if we can move this. Oops, Control Z. Let's go over here. Again, grab this. Okay, and let's see if we can rotate that selection there. And let's see if we can grab this slider here and kind of rotate that up a little bit. Okay, and then we can just go ahead and do the same thing here. Can grab our selection area. And let's just smudge that in here. Grab our smudgy smudge. Okay, so you might have to do a little touch up now and again. But that looks pretty good right there. Let's go ahead and smudge this a little bit. And then you can do some harder lines here too. So if I go ahead and grab, let's say I want to grab a certain color, for example, I'll grab the color selection tool. And notice there it selected that color. Then I can go here and I can certainly darken that a little bit. Click OK. And I can do some darker lines there. So again, if I turn this off, you can see there's some darker lines around the eyes a little bit, up where the guidelines are. So I'm going to turn the face guides back on and just kind of darken those areas with the brush. And I'm going to check my tool presets here, bring the force down a little bit here, and just kind of, well, that's a little much. So let's bring the force down even more. There you can see I'm kind of feathering some nice darker lines. Maybe one right here. Again, just take your time. There's one right here. Okay, again, let's turn off our guidelines here. You can see there's some darker lines there we're working in. And yeah, maybe just go over maybe one more time. Let's see here. That one kind of goes all the way around. Same with this one here. Just kind of goes around and down. Oops, a little much. Just go over it one more time here. Okay, and just go around right here where the lashes are going to go. Try that again. Maybe one down here. Okay. Bump it up a little bit and bring the force down here. Let's go to tool options again. So if you lose your tab, just go to add tab over here on the right and find your tool options, or your tool presets, I guess. Oops, I meant tool options. My bad. Add tab, tool options. There we go. Again, bring the force down a little bit. Okay. And again, let's grab our smudge tool here a little bit. Smudge it out. Bring up the force a little bit. Just kind of blend things together. Kind of blend everything together there. Okay, do some shading, and then let's see what else we can look at here and accomplish. Maybe add some eyelashes there too, or maybe even a darker line there over here. So again, let's grab the burn tool. Now let's bump that down a little bit and just go around here and we'll burn this in a little darker. Just along the top here. Okay, so it's a lot of it's a different kind of painting, right? Digital painting, um, but it is an art form unto itself. Okay, just darken those lines around. Get a little definition. Okay, let's add maybe some eyelashes there. So let's do a new layer. And let's add some lashes. Okay, so let's grab our brush here. Let's find one of our brushes to use. And let's see what I've got here. Three-tone ribbon. Let's see, shards of confetti. I think the one I did use was it block? No, maybe this one here. That one will work. And let's do, again, some tool presets. Let's change it up to black. Again, let's bring up the hardness and force. Tool presets, make the angle change here that we need to. That looks pretty good to start. And size, of course. So we can kind of make those lashes there. Let's, again, start up here. Let's take a look and see where they start here. So we've got a few out there. They kind of start right down by the eye there, so we can go out with those. This time we want some curves, right? Kind of get those curves going the same way. Get a few more out here. Let's try that again. Oops. All right, so we're moving right along here. We got a few going up this way, so let's go ahead and bring our size down a little bit more. Maybe down to 3. Oops. When that happens, just double click on it and change it to the number you want. There we go. And let's take a look here. We've got a few little ones coming over this way. Over here to thicken that up. Okay, that's looking pretty good on that side. Now let's go over to the other side. Now notice there I'm doing this on the eyes number 1. So, I didn't do it on the layer that I probably should have, but that's okay. We can always join these together, and that's probably what we'll end up doing. And so same thing on this one. She's going to, except let's move our angle. So again, tool presets. Let's bump that up a little bit so we can see how big it is. And let's change our angle here a little bit. That's a good start right there. We'll bring these down to about 4 again. And same idea here. We'll get these thicker on this end.
Staff meeting in Maribel's room. Staff meeting in Maribel's room.
Okay. So just take your time again. I did these on the wrong layer, but that's okay. Okay. All right, so we got a good start on the lashes there. Okay, so here I'm finishing up the lashes here. And again, I'm just kind of winging it. And just provides a nice detail there. Getting some depth to the eyes too. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of a primer on how to use some of the tools. Again, the dodge and burn tool can be really valuable. The smudge tool can also help you out there, and just using some of your brushes there when things start to take shape and add definition here, and as we move along here, hopefully I'll find a use for one of the custom brushes I made, and that's kind of one of the goals of the assignment, is for you to use one of your custom brushes. So I'll probably do something custom with the covering on the woman here. Okay, so as we move along here, the other thing you want to think about is what you want to do with the headwear here. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful colors, but I don't want to just try to emulate that. I want to create something unique here. So I'm going to turn this back on. And what I could do is, you can see I have all these other layers above it. I'm just going to take all of this right here and make a duplicate of that. So as long as you're on one of the visible layers, you can go up here to layer and choose new from visible. And so we'll put this one up top here. Everything else underneath is kind of irrelevant at this point. And what I'm going to do is, well, let's make a duplicate of this. So right click, duplicate layer. What I'm going to do is just get rid of the center of this. So on this copy on top of the other one, I'm going to use the magic wand, select the blue area here, and then just do select inverse, right, or invert, and then I can just delete what's in the middle. So if you turn this layer up above it, this one too, of course, you can see there's nothing in this center part of this layer. So that's good. So let's go ahead and we'll just fire these back up. And then we're also going to bring in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm actually going to add a texture to this, to the headwear, to give it some kind of pattern on its own. And then what I'll do is I'll add some touches with the brushes to it to finish it off. So I'm actually going to use a blending mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this selection here. I've got the inside here selected. And while that selection is still there, I'm going to bring in my texture that I want to add to it. So I'm going to go into my folder here and find that texture. And it's this one right here. And it's just like a texture. Believe it or not, it's a picture that I took of a tree, a texture of a tree. So I'm going to just go ahead and drop that in here into my GIMP file. Choose keep here. Keep that color profile. Okay, and there we go. So we have the image here, but we also still have the selection. So if I'm on this layer and I'm still selecting the center, watch what happens here. Okay, we still have that center selection from the other layer. Hit delete, and you can see there it's gone now. But we still have that white there underneath it. Okay, so what that is again, I have to make it an alpha channel. So I have to add alpha channel to this. So right click on it, choose add alpha channel, and then just hit delete again. And you'll notice there that it's gone now. I can probably get rid of this face guidelines layer now. So I'm going to select it, click the X and get rid of that. I probably can just keep everything else for now. But you can see now I've got the texture over that, which I like, but I also want to do a blending mode. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to the blending modes here and just play around with a few. Notice their erase just gets rid of it. But if you start playing with others, look at that. I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful. And I can also play with colors here too. If I go to colors here and do the hue saturation, start adjusting the hues. Actually, I'm still selected in the center there. So let me hit Shift Control A. Let me cancel this. Hit Shift Control A to be off the selection there. And maybe just grab my move tool there. And let's go Shift Control A. There we go. And on that layer again, if we play with the hue saturation, let's go to colors, hue saturation. Again, if I play with the hue, you can see there, you can bring out whatever colors you want in the image. I like that, how it brings out some of the green in the eyes. The blue is nice too. So you can get some really nice textures using some blending modes too. You don't have to use all brushes. And let's try another one though. That's really nice. That's pin light. So make a mental note of that one. And again, just a beautiful addition to this. So don't be afraid to also try using blending modes until you find, look at that, that's incredible. And then you can also bring down the opacity as well to make it more subtle. That's kind of nice too, to leave it kind of like that. And really just adds a nice touch, gives it a nice texture too to the fabric a little bit. So that looks pretty good right there. That's grain extract, so I like that. Grain merge. Let's try difference. Difference sometimes. No, didn't quite fully work there. And maybe exclusion too. So yeah, I think we're looking more like at pin light. That's vivid light. Let's see when we bring it all the way up. That's nice. But I think pin light or grain extract is probably the one I would go with. And so I think it comes down to those two. So let me see what pin light is again. Again, I like that a lot. But I think I'm going to go with grain extract. Really like that. It's just beautiful. And maybe bump it down a little bit. And then for the final touches, I'm going to use one of my, or a couple of my custom brushes maybe, to do some final touches to this. One in particular, I want to add some kind of a seam to the edges of this headwear. And so what we can do, I think the easiest way might be to, again, let's take these layers and let's merge them. So I'm going to go up to, actually better yet, let's go to this layer where it's still all the blue and make sure that gets selected. Perfect, that's what I want. And let's go up here and do a new layer from visible. And so we have that selection, which is nice. And then what we're going to do is select the invert again. And that way when I'm, actually that's probably not a good idea. Let's go ahead and invert it one more time. And so now we have the blue area selected. And so when we draw the seam around this, we won't go into the face. We won't have to worry about that. So that's kind of nice. So looking at this, I may want to either use a darker color for the seam or maybe even a lighter. So let's go in and find our brushes. And I have some custom brushes here. Let's see what I have. Fur pelt, kaleidoscope. That's an interesting one. Let's see what kaleidoscope looks like. Our pins and needles, star smile, stitch pattern. There we go. So this is one I made right here called stitch pattern. So I'm going to try that. In fact, I'm going to just do it on its own layer too. Why not, right? If you have the ability to do that, then you don't run the risk of messing up the layers beneath it. So let's try just a black with that brush stitch layer, and you can see there it kind of does look like a stitch. But I'm also going to adjust it using my tool options, namely the angle. That's kind of a neat angle right there. Maybe a little bit more, maybe like more of an X pattern. I like that. And let's bring the spacing down too. Something like that could work, I think. Let's see how that does. And let's bring the size down. Has to be a reasonable size. And let's bring up the hardness and force, right? We really want to see it. Okay, so we need to bring the size up here. Okay, that size is pretty good right there. Maybe a little bit bigger for a stitch pattern. But we also want to get the spacing right too. I like that. That's good. That's probably about perfect right there. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to use a white and see what I can do with that. And I'm just going to go along this line here and create some kind of a stitch pattern. And let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's bump that down a little bit more. Bring the spacing out a little bit more. That looks good. I like that. Let's try that. What I can do is I can just go along here and not ever hit the face. So I'm just kind of creating a seam along the edge here. And again, you can take your finger off the mouse button once in a while and just keep going from there. So something like that. So that looks good. Let's zoom in on it. I think if you really get zoomed in on something like that, it makes it easier to run your pattern across. Okay, and I'm just using, again, this is one of my custom brushes called the stitch pattern. And I'm getting off there a little bit. So again, just take your time. Okay. Again, the slower you do this, the less mistakes you make, right? Slow down so you can hurry up. That's what I always say. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Just kind of doing a stitch pattern with my brush. And so this is kind of what I was getting at as far as making a digital painting. Sometimes you just have to grab the brush that you need and just kind of click and drag. It's a different kind of brush stroke, isn't it? But sometimes that'll get you through and add something unique and interesting to your image. Okay, and just keep going, like I said, and just take your time. Again, we'll have it continue up here. Maybe kind of go down there. And again, just let the mouse just roll and keep moving there. Stop once in a while just to... All right. Okay, can run that up there a little bit more too, or not. All right, let's zoom out and take a look at it. So you kind of get the idea there, though, that you can just sort of use some of your custom brushes there to add to it. And again, you may want to add some shadowing in there. If you looked at her image up here, let's bring this one up here too. You know, there's some points where the light hits it in a little different way. You know, depending on what you want to do there, you could show some light hitting it and then have it darker on one side and lighter on the other, maybe. So let's turn that off. Let's do, again, a new from visible here. So layer, new from visible. Bring this one up here, up top. And underneath there, you can see her. You can see where it's lighter and darker. So you can even bring this opacity down here a little bit and kind of see where it's lighter and where it's darker. So again, you could go onto this layer, kind of lighter up the center here. And let's, again, instead of using like, well, we could do dodge and burn, but let's try using a brush to do some of that. So let's grab something that would add a little texture, but also lighten things up a little bit. Maybe the dots. Let's see how that would work. Let's grab our brush. That might work. So let's Control Z to undo that. Let's bring that up just a little bit, and let's go ahead and mess with our tool options. And again, I'm going to bring down the hardness. See how that goes. So that's a little bit blurry. So I'm going to bring that back up. Okay. And let's bring the size of this thing up. That's way too much. But let's play with the spacing and the force. Just see what we get. Okay, that's not bad. Not quite what I'm looking for as far as the texture. So let's go back in here and take a look and see what we can get. Yeah, let's see. Maybe I can choose one of mine here. Oops, not that one. Let's see what we got here. Running eggs, star smile. This is one that I made. No, it's not going to work. What's this one? Dizzy lights. Did I do that one? Yeah, I made that one. I really like that one, actually. Let me see if I can make that one work. So maybe let's bring this one up a little bit. Well, no, that's a pretty good size. Let's bring it down. And let's mess with, again, the hardness and force. That's close. Almost there. There we go. Just want it to be blurry. Yeah. So here we can make things a little bit lighter, depending on where we see the light hitting the girl here, her area. Maybe some other areas here that we can exploit. Just kind of bring out some of the depth in her image, I guess, with light and dark value. Something like that. Maybe a little bit along the edges here. And just bring out some of the lighter values and where the light might be a little more intense on her covering. Okay, so something like that brings out a little bit of the depth in her look here. And maybe take one side as well. What we can do is do some kind of a let's do a burn. So we'll select dodge burn again. Let's turn on the burn. That burn is on. That's good. And let's bring this up. We're just going to kind of burn one side of her, make her a little darker on this side here. And let's change the color up. Let's do a darker color there. Just kind of slowly make our way. Let's go back to our layers here to darkening this side maybe. Not getting anything there, so let's check our settings here. Fade length 100%. Probably want to bring up the hardness and force a little bit more. That may be too much. There we go. You can see there it's starting to darken that area. Maybe darken some of this area here. Let's bring that down a little bit. Okay, just kind of move into that. Let's create some shadow there. So gives you some nice options there. But that's kind of the idea, is when you create a digital painting, you want to use the tools such as dodge and burn, the smudge and blur tools, the brushes. You want to use maybe a custom brush or two of yours. And whatever other brushes you want to use to create some kind of a unique painting. And again, it may be something you just look at from a photo, or you can base it on a real picture if you want, but the idea is to make it custom. So what you'd probably want to include in there in your layers is your original photo along with your painting that you do, and see what you can do to create the illusion of a painted image of something that you like to look at.